Even the best power supply can run into problems, and knowing how to troubleshoot power issues is a critical skill for any IT technician. Whether it's a desktop computer or a mobile device, diagnosing and resolving power problems quickly can save time, prevent damage, and even get systems back up and running. I'm James, and in this video we're continuing with computer power supplies in Module C, Power Supply Troubleshooting, where we'll focus on identifying and fixing power-related issues. This lesson is part of the CompTIA A+, developed by CompTIA. It is essential knowledge for anyone preparing for a career in IT support or hardware troubleshooting. Now in this lesson, you will learn troubleshooting computer power issues from no power situations to intermittent problems, troubleshooting mobile device power issues, including battery, charging, and adapter problems. By the end of this video, you'll have a structured approach to diagnosing, solving power problems for both desktops and mobile devices, helping you work efficiently and safely in real-world scenarios. So let's get started by looking at common computer power issues and how to identify them. Now, common PSU problems. PC power supplies can fail by delivering too little wattage, improper voltage, or no power at all. Now, possible reasons include an underpowered PSU, a failing or poor quality unit, electrical issues such as surges or brownouts, overheating caused by poor ventilation, a failed fan, or dust buildup. Startup and power symptoms. Now, if the PSU does not generate enough wattage, or if it's failing, you may notice the following symptoms. The system fails to start, the computer powers on and then shuts off almost immediately. The computer reboots unexpectedly, sometimes with or without an operating system error. There are intermittent lockups or brownouts. Device and component systems. The USB devices are not receiving power or stop working. The system reports hard drive corruption or disk errors. The hard drive and CPU fan fail to spin simultaneously, and the system reports memory errors. Under overheating and performance, the system overheats due to fan failure. The system takes longer to boot or shuts down. The computer trips the wall outlet circuit breaker when powered on. You may feel an electric shock when touching the computer case. Smoke or burning smell coming from the case. The PSU may emit buzzing or unusual noises, or the computer may emit BIOS beep codes at startup, which could indicate a power supply problem. Now, not always the PSU. Now, yeah, that's always a fact. Many of these symptoms can also be caused by other problems, such as improper connections, faulty motherboard components, or software configuration issues. Now, this means you must apply a structured troubleshooting process to isolate the root cause. Intermittent failures, you may also notice that these symptoms appear and then disappear for a while and then reappear again later. Now, as the PSU continues to fail, symptoms may become more frequent when the system is under additional load. Now, under your power indicators, now when the PSU fails, the power indicator light may still illuminate. However, peripherals that do not receive power from the computer PSU, such as external monitors, may remain powered. Now, these symptoms are not exclusive to PSU failure, but they are a strong indicator. So what should we do? We should test our PSU. Now, there are two primary methods for testing a power supply. Now, you can manually test it using a multimeter, or you can use a dedicated power supply testing tool. Now, using a multimeter, is a general electronic testing device. Now, it is used to troubleshoot power supplies, electronic components, and even network cables. Now, although some tasks are more efficient performed by specialized hardware, multimeters are inexpensive, easy to find, and very flexible. Multimeters can be analog or digital. Now, both types can measure current, voltage, and resistance. Some models also include a continuity setting which emits a tone when resistance is 0. Now, resistance measurements are useful for identifying broken wires or short circuits. Voltage measurements are essential for detecting power supply issues. Measuring current is more complex but helps identifying performance problems in electrical circuits. Now, electrical safety. Now, resistant measurements are typically made with the device disconnected or powered off. Now, when measuring voltage or current, the device must be powered on. This means you must use appropriate electrical safety precautions. Step by step, using a multimeter. First step, configuring the device. Now, using a multimeter, we need to make sure it is properly configured before testing. If testing resistance, the power cable must be unplugged or the device must be turned off and disconnected. If testing voltage or current, the power cable or device must be plugged in and powered on. I'm going to go ahead, turn this PC off. To test the power supply, we're going to need to unplug it from the motherboard. Now, selecting the correct test type, we need to set our multimeter to the appropriate test type. For voltage, we can either select AC or DC voltage. Most multimeters offer multiple sensitivity ranges. Choose the range closest to the expected value. Now, when measuring resistance, we need to zero the meter. Now, we zero the meter by touching the leads directly together. This confirms proper calibration before testing. Now, touch the leads to either side of the circuit you are testing. Read the value displayed on the screen. If a voltage test shows a negative value, that means the leads are likely reversed. Now, to manually complete a PSU test, you need a screwdriver and a multimeter. You must be extremely careful when working with electrical power. You may remove the PSU from the computer or leave it installed as long as all internal connectors are disconnected. Now, leaving it installed can make testing under load easier. Now, I've already switched off and disconnected it from the power outlet. That would be step number 1. Now, inside the case, we need to detach all the cables from all the hard drives and the motherboard. You may remove the PSU. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. I've already unscrewed it, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it because we're not going to do a load test. So let me just get this out of the way. Leaving us with our PSU. Now, with the power supply being removed, we are going to go ahead and bridge pins 15 and 16 on our 24-pin motherboard power connector using a paper clip. Now, pin 15 and 16, here they're located. 16 is the green wire, that is our power on signal. The black wire, pin 15, is our ground. I'm just going to go ahead and bridge it with my paper clip. I'm going to be connecting the power to my power supply. Just keep in mind, if your power supply does not have a power button, make sure that you switch it on from the wall outlet. Now, I'm going to be switching it on using my power switch. Now, if the power supply is minimally function and the pins are correctly bridged, you should hear the fans spinning. And in my case, I can hear the fans spinning. So next up, our step 4 is setting our multimeter to the appropriate test type. Right, so in my case, I'm going to be choosing the DC voltage. I'm going to be setting it on 20. So if yours does not have a auto sense, you're going to have to use the dial. Next up, we're going to be measuring the voltage. So what we're going to do is we're going to be touching our ground pin So let's just find a ground wire. There's a ground wire right there. And I'm going to be connecting it to one of the orange wires. I'll manage to hold it there in place. And as you can see, there's a voltage reading of 3.26. Now, orange should be roughly about 3.3 voltage. Yellow wire, which is connected there. A red one is there. That should be about 5 volts. And a yellow wire on this side should be about 12 volts. Now, if your measure voltage falls outside of the approved tolerance for the voltage, the power supply should be replaced. Now, we can also do a voltage test for our power supply under load. So what we need to do is then remove the pin, the bridge for pins 15 and 16, unplug the PSU from the wall outlet, reconnect all internal devices to the PSU, plug the power supply back into the wall, and power up. Now from here we will test each internal connector to find out what their separate voltages is. Now unfortunately, our 24-pin power connector will be connected to our multimeter, to our motherboard, and we won't be able to test that with our multimeter. If any connector voltage falls outside the approved tolerance, we need to replace our power supply. When testing is complete, we need to make sure that all components from the PSU gets connected back into the case before we close everything up. Now, testing a PSU with a power supply tester is safer, less prone to human error than using a multimeter. However, it does not simulate a true load test like a manual multimeter can. But our first step here is always powering down the system and making sure our power supply is disconnected. Now, I've already got it out of the case on my table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect our ATX 24 pin to the power supply tester and also the ATX 4 pin. Now, as you can see there is place for 8 pins there. I only use the 4, so I'm going to go ahead and connect mine to the 4 pins. Right, so step number 3 would be powering on our power supply. So I'm going to go ahead and power it on. Again, if yours does not have a power switch, rather use the wall outlet on-off switch. Now, if the PSU is minimally function, you should still hear the fans spinning. We're going to, next up, we're going to review the voltages on our display. As can be seen, our 12 volt still indicates 12 volt, 5 volt, 3.3 volts. If any of the measurements falls outside of the approved tolerance, then you would definitely need to replace the power supply. Now we also need to test our internal connectors. Now for that, we can either plug in our Molex connector over here, our SATA connector over there, and our Berg connector over here. So if you have a 6-pin connector for your display cards, you can plug it in over here. So to do that, we need to make sure that we switch it off. I'm going to go ahead and plug in a SATA connector, just making sure that I do plug it in the right way up. And I'm going to be switching on my power supply again. All right, now this SATA connector does not have an orange wire. That's why only the 12 volt and the 5 volt LEDs are lit. Now laptops and other mobile devices use rechargeable batteries as their primary power source. Now if your device has no power or the battery is not at full capacity after charging overnight, you should suspect a charging issue. Though the rechargeable battery may stop charging or fail to hold a charge for several reasons. Now, one is poor battery health. Now, over time, reasons or rechargeable batteries degrade and lose their ability to hold a full charge. After many charge cycles, battery capacity diminishes. The result is shorter battery life or failure to charge completely. Another one is a swollen battery. Now, when a battery is damaged, often due to overcharging or age, it can swell. A swollen battery can physically damage the device. It may also prevent the device from charging properly or cause it to power on intermittently. Improper charging. Now, charging issues can stem from a faulty charging unit or a damaged power cord. If the charging cable is not securely connected, the device may not charge. Now, over time, cables can wear out or fray, leading to intermittent power flow. Physical damage to the port. Now, if the charging port is broken or worn out, it can cause charging problems. Now, this often happens due to frequent plugging and unplugging. If the device has been dropped or mishandled, the charging port may become loose or damaged. Now, damaged port may result in inconsistent power connection. Now, if your battery is not taking a full charge or not charging at all, begin troubleshooting with a visual inspection, inspecting the battery, the charging point, and the charger. So, let's look at it step by step. Now, the first step is always to power down our device. In other words, turning the device's power off. Second step, in this case, would be unplugging the charger from both the device and also the wall outlet. The third step is removing the battery. Now, if the battery is removable, open the battery compartment and remove the battery. Now, newer laptops, you may need to open the case to access the battery. The next step, inspecting the battery. Now, check the battery if it is not physically damaged or swollen. Now, if you see physical damage, properly dispose of the battery and purchase a compatible replacement. Now, be extremely careful when handling a swollen battery. It can leak, damage the device, or even explode and cause a fire. Next, check the battery terminals. Ensure that the battery contact terminals are clean, free of oxidation, and show no signs of wear. If they are dirty, clean them with a dry, lint-free cloth or gently rub them with a pencil eraser to remove oxidation buildup. Step number 6 would be inspecting the charging port. Inspecting the charging port on the device and the charger plug. If any components are corroded, damaged, or missing, purchase a compatible replacement. Now, inspecting the charger. Now, the charger and the charge cable should be inspected. If you see a break in the cord, replace it with a compatible charger. Isolating the faults. Now, if no physical damage is visible, try using a different charger. Then try a new battery. If both the charger and battery are known to be working, the charging port on the motherboard or its circuitry may have failed. Now, that wraps it up for this lesson on power supply troubleshooting. Knowing how to diagnose and resolve power issues, whether in a desktop computer or a mobile device, it's a fundamental skill for any IT technician. Proper troubleshooting helps prevent hardware damage, saves time, and ensure systems stay reliable. These concepts are part of the CompTIA A+, developed by CompTIA. Mastering them will prepare you for both the exam and the real-world IT support. Take time to review the troubleshooting steps we covered, practice applying them so you feel confident diagnosing power-related issues in any scenario. In the next chapter, we move on to memory, where we will explain the RAM types, installation, troubleshooting, and other critical components for every computer system. If you found this video helpful, subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson in our complete A+ course. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.